What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be talking about trade lines, how they work, and whether they're worth it or not. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to stay tuned. What's up, y'all? My name is Tomy Boboy, your credit and personal finance coach. If this is your first time on my channel, I'd just like to say welcome. Typically on this channel, I'm talking about things related to credit and personal finance. So if you're interested in improving your credit or achieving financial freedom, be sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my future videos. Now let's jump into trade lines. Now, the first thing I wanted to touch on was what exactly are trade lines. A lot of the times people just hear that word and they're not really understanding, where these things are coming from, what they are. We just know that, we've heard that if you throw it on your credit will improve, and then that's all you need, right? So I figured I'd break down a little bit about what trade lines are, and so you can have an idea how it all pieces together, okay? So trade lines, really all they are is just credit card accounts that have really long and pretty decent history, okay? You can kind of think of it as anyone who has a credit card that has a pretty high credit limit and has been opened for, I don't know, a certain amount of time, let's say 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, they could technically use their credit card as a trade line or sell it off as a trade line. So the idea of it is once someone has a credit card that kind of has the decent history or age and also has a pretty high utilization, what they'll do is they'll add you as an authorized user. Okay. Now, normally that's fine whenever you're adding someone as authorized user. It's just a function that, most credit card companies have put. So you can add, for example, like a loved one or a family member onto your credit. That way they technically are supposed to get a card that they can use to be able to shop with that same credit card. It might still be the account might be in your name, but they're able to be added to it as an authorized user. That way they're literally authorized to use the card. So that's a breakdown of what an actual trade line is, but how does it actually work? So the way it works is let's say, for example, you go and you buy a trade line from somebody, right? And this is, guys, I'm talking in general sense because I know that in this field, there's a lot of, there's a lot of shady characters, and maybe there's a lot of different ways you can get scammed and things like that. So I'm just speaking in a general term in terms of like how this is theoretically supposed to work. Okay. This is not how it always plays out. Okay. So the way it works is you're supposed to be able to get added as an authorized user on one of these accounts. And what typically is going to happen is, depending on the type of credit card, you'll basically inherit all the history of that card. Okay. So if we're saying that this is let's say it's a credit card that that's been open for 5 years and has a $10,000 limit, then on your credit report, once you get added as an authorized user, it's going to show up as an account on your credit report saying that you've had a credit card open for the 5 years and you have a $10,000 limit. Now, what happens is you're going to gain all the positive and the negative aspects of the credit card. Okay. So you got to keep in mind that you don't get to pick and choose what you get. You're just going to inherit that account as a whole. Okay. And the things that's going to get impacted the most is going to be your credit utilization, which just means how much of that credit card you're using, the credit utilization, their payment history. So whether they've been paying that credit card on time, and the length of credit, which basically is just how long they've actually had that account open. Now, depending on your actual credit profile, so however your credit report was looking before you got that trade line added, you could possibly see an improvement in your actual credit score. Now, you're only going to have this improvement as long as the account is on your credit report. So once you've been removed as an authorized user, you basically lose all the benefits that you might have had from being added on that trade line. And from what I've heard, people can keep you on as much as, or as little as a few weeks to as much as a couple months onto an actual account. Okay. And then after that period is over, it's basically like you start back from where you were before you even got that trade line added. Now, in terms of what's my opinion, whether it's worth it or not, now, the way I look at it, I think it's not worth it, and I'll give you a few reasons why. Okay. Now, this is going to be mostly me. I'm ignoring the whole ethics or, the moral side of it, right? The idea that, you're pretty much paying to hopefully boost your credit score long term, right? So be able to boost your credit short term. Okay. Just ignoring that. There's some other points that I want you to just keep in mind, okay? One of the big ones is you're kind of at the mercy of whoever is giving you that trade line, right? Like, let's say theoretically that I was giving a trade line to someone, right? Or I was selling trade lines. In theory, I could give you that trade line, right? Or let's say you pay me and I give you a trade line, and as soon as I receive that payment, just remove you off of the trade line, right? So that's kind of the issue, is you don't know how long you're going to be kept on it. Sure, people can tell you, hey, you know, you can stay up to 30 days, up to 60 days, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the person who owns the actual credit card themselves, they can remove you whenever they like, right? It's really up to them, and they have the power. They kind of control whether you're on that trade line or whether you're not. Now, in my personal opinion, and I've shot videos on this, mentioning this point before, I personally think it makes more sense for you to get added as an authorized user on a family member's card if you have a family member or even a really close friend. The reason being is it's something that's a lot more long term, right? You can use that to continue to build your credit up where eventually you won't need that the trade line or the authorized user account. Because to me, I look at it as it's sort of like a crutch, right? People use it as a crutch, and then the issue is it's only there for a little bit, and then eventually once you lose that crutch, you're back to where you started. But if you have someone that's in your immediate family, or you know, you have a really close friend and they're able to add you to their actual credit account, and they have a pretty solid credit card, for example, it's decent history, their payment history is great, and it has pretty high utilization, that should be enough to hold you until you can start building your own credit, right? And then eventually you won't have to worry about ever getting trade lines or being an authorized user on another account, because you've built up your credit to that point. Now, the second issue that I have with it is that person, anything wrong that happens, you kind of have no control over it. Okay, so to give you an example, let's say that you got a trade line added to your account, right? Or to your credit report. And next thing you know, the person who owns that trade line, they stop paying their credit card. Well, anything bad that happens with that credit card, it's going to show up on your credit report as well. So if they start missing payments, that's going to show up. If let's say that they had a $10,000 limit, and then, you know, like depending on what's going on, whatever their situation is financially, maybe they need to start using that credit card for expenses because they lost their job or something. So they have a $10,000 limit, but they're ending up almost maxing out the card. Maybe they've used $9,000 of that credit limit. That's going to impact you as well, right? And it's all these little issues that you got to watch out for that you really have no control over, because typically you don't know whose card it is that you're on, right? You just kind of go with the flow, right? You don't really know what's going on, and you can't really control it. It's just kind of a luck of the draw. Another issue I have with it is that you can actually still get denied for credit, especially whenever you're trying to get things like mortgages and stuff like that. There's some mortgage lenders out there who, whenever they see, especially whenever they see like a new line or new account has been added to your credit report recently, and it has a different address, right? Because that credit line is also going to be linked to an address, right? So that person doesn't live where you live. So they're going to see a whole nother address that's popped up on your credit report. And, you know, when they ask you for an explanation on it, and I don't know what kind of explanation you're going to give them, but at the end of the day, if they see that, they might think, oh, maybe this dude's moving around or something, or he just got a new place already and he's trying to sign up for another, like trying to get a house now. Like they're not going to be sure what your situation is. They might even decide to do what's called a rescore and just take that out and basically minus out that trade line. Now you're back to square one, right? You're back to exactly where you had started at before you even got the trade line, except now you're out the money that you spent. So really the way I look at it is, I think it's more so, it's just like a temporary solution to a long-term problem, right? I think it's more so beneficial for you to work towards just building your credit up, because the amount of money that you're going to spend getting a trade line, you could have spent that money fixing up your credit, whether it's you doing it yourself, sending out letters to credit bureaus, hiring someone to do it, or just even negotiating with whatever kind of creditors you have on your actual credit report, right? If you have any type of debt collectors and stuff like that, negotiating with them to be able to get it removed off your credit. So there's a lot of steps that you could take before you even think about getting a trade line, because to me, the trade lines are just temporary, right? And they still might not have the success that you're looking for, especially when you're in an industry like that where there's a lot of shady stuff going on. I'm sure if you look, you don't have to look very far to find someone who will tell you a story about how they got scammed trying to buy trade lines, right? So to me, it's just something that I wouldn't really waste too much energy trying to get into. I'm more focused on just fixing my credit myself. So now that's going to be pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope that gave you at least some information about how the trade lines work, and whether it's worth it for you to do it or not. And that's going to be the gist of this video, guys. I'm also going to be posting some other videos down below. If you do decide that you want to fix your credit, then I have videos where I show you step by step how to fix your credit, as well as specific videos where I teach you, how to fix how to remove hard inquiries, how to get rid of collection accounts, how to get rid of charge-offs, things like that. I'm going to link to all of those down below as well, so you can take a look at those videos too. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video, guys. Be sure you throw a like on this video and you hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my future videos. So this is going to be it for this one. I'll see you at the next one. Peace.